Beware Romulans bearing gifts.
This is Eric.
This is Carl.
And this is Sean.
And welcome back. It's Romulans Bearing Gifts, episode 87, with the return of everyone's favorite new Star Trek show. Not really. Strange New Worlds, season 3, episode 1. Finally, the conclusion. I wish they would have done like TNG whenever they had those cliffhanger season breaks. And now the conclusion of Hegemony, part 2. So, here we are. Before we get into it, how did either of you feel about Strange New Worlds, or both of you feel, about Strange New Worlds coming back, new season? Like, were you like, whatever, here it is? Were you looking forward to it?
Can I go first? Because I'm just going to say it's easier. I had no opinion about that. I didn't know it was coming back. I didn't know it was going away, whatever.
And I'm assuming you didn't miss it.
Well, I didn't miss it. No, I've got other shit to watch, but that's all I got to say about that. Okay, Carl.
Hey, we like the unvarnished truth.
Yeah.
I'm just mad it took so long. I'm serious. You know, we have been watching TV differently in this modern era. And I mean, you know, I've been watching it a long time. And from the evolution of the number of episodes that we used to see, you know, the time off between, you know, the seasons, that's one thing. But where we are now, this 2-year break, 10 episodes a season, this is just, it's just making me mad. So, I mean, I love the series. I was happy that it was back. But that is too long. That is really, really too long.
I had no idea. I thought that they were broadcast like when we podcasted about them before. That wasn't 2 years ago, was it?
For the last Strange New Worlds. Eric, when was the air date?
Oh my gosh, I don't have it. I'll find it in a second. But I want to say it was maybe at least a year and a half ago. Or, I mean, let me find out.
Okay, it might be a year and a half, but it's pushing to. It's pushing to.
That is so weird because I was thinking about it earlier. Okay, go ahead, Carl. I'm sorry. All right.
Well, I mean, you know, so I'm happy that it's back. I like Strange New Worlds, but for these series
goodness.
When was it?
Yes. So part 1 of this episode that we just watched, the finale of season 2, aired on August 10th, 2023.
There you go.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's almost exactly 2 years.
I mean, that's ridiculous. I'm sorry. You know, as much as I love the series, and we have 10 episodes a season, right? This is ridiculous. So I'm trying to, on one hand, I recognize that the production value of these modern shows that we're watching is through the roof. It is kind of like we're getting, you know, 4 movies when we watch a season of these. You know, it's kind of like that. And you know, I'll cut them some slack. But given the number of episodes that we grew up with and the time between those seasons, they can't find a reasonable compromise between, you know, 10 episodes in 2 years and what we used to do, 25 episodes and like 6 months. There's no sweet spot in between those two ranges for what we can produce for television now. So, you know, I was just mad. That is my genuine response to all of this.
Now, obviously I'm right there with you. Obviously I've had that same issue with a lot of the different shows I watch, because especially with some shows like, well, I don't even want to say Disney Plus, but HBO Max or whatever, it's kind of normal for shows to have like 2 years between seasons. Let's not even talk about Fargo, where they're becoming like the Larry David show. Like they just make a season whenever they feel like it. Because the Fargo series in the latter seasons, there's been like 4 or 5 year breaks between seasons.
Yeah, no, that would annoy me in the extreme, just like this has. Look at Stranger Things. I mean, I don't
That's another one.
I do not like this modern trend. I would rather see more simpler bottle episodes more frequently than super epic with 2-year gaps in between.
Oh,
such as
such as the old shows. Like
I mean, I'm just saying, like old shows. The
Like,
way
yeah, because like Sean, imagine
15
if there
to
was,
okay, all right.
if there was a I don't know if it's Paramount or Peacock who would have this, but they do like a Murder She Wrote revival. Like cast.
He's got to say
new.
Murder She Wrote to sort of frame it in a way that I understand.
And they cast someone to play Angela Lansbury's role, but now she's like a 30-something actress, and it's supposed to all be the same world. Adventures We Missed, and it comes out on Peacock or Paramount, and you get like an 8-episode season, and then you have to wait like a year and a half or two for like season 2. So picture that in your mind.
And then the lady dies, and then they like replace her with like, I don't know, Vicki Lawrence or some shit, and then keep on going. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but you get 8 standard length episodes, but then that's it, and then you have to wait.
Technically, she regenerates.
Like Ab Fab, absolutely fabulous. Yes.
Yeah, Carl's saying make it simpler and then just pump out more
frequently. Because what I genuinely don't understand is, think of how many episodes per season they used to make of Next Generation. All right. And I respectfully know how hard that was on the actors back in the day. Right. But part of the hard part of making Next Generation, part of what made it so expensive back in the day, were the special effects and all of the sets and all that kind of stuff. If you could cut the episodes in half, maintain the same schedule, and then use our modern CGI technology, why can't we do that? Why is it taking so much longer to make them now than what we could do back in the 80s and 90s? I don't understand. And so I'm trying to appreciate the artistic, scope of what's being created now, but it doesn't have to be that grandiose if it's going to take this long. You're losing audience, you're losing interest. People are dropping off, forgetting the series even is on. And, that should be a legitimate concern. So anyway, many reasons.
Well, you're just going to have to sit at it and go to a con and hear Mr. Peck, whatever his first name is, explain the whole thing once their Carl, NDAs are over.
You're right, Carl, though. Like, because I was thinking, what if we did go this old school approach intentionally, just like with old original Battlestar Galactica or old Star Trek, where you just reuse like the ship shots.
You don't have to do that.
No, I know. But then you say AI.
I mean,
let's just.
I'm just dude. The stuff you can generate in real time in Destiny, could fill it. Think of what we used to watch with Galactica. Think of what we used to watch with Babylon 5. I mean, it doesn't have to be Star Wars, modern Star Wars caliber to tell good stories and to be believably visible. So that's why serious. I saw there's a dude named Tobias Richter that makes computer-generated animation. I've talked to this guy. He used to do stuff for the shows that the fan films I used to work for. This dude by himself was creating the interstitial graphics and 15 years ago. One dude, 15 years ago, was doing this stuff. High caliber, quality animation. And you're telling me it's taking these folks 2 years, a team of people?
And I don't want like the working class writers to lose jobs, but I think that's what's going to happen either way. Not just with Star Trek, but you could do the same thing for the screenplay writing. Like what a professional television writer could do with like, here's my outline.
You know what? I'm not even going to endorse this aspect of AI. All right, we're not even going to go there to have the AI helping or working with the writers. I'm gonna say this: with the original way that Star Trek used to be written, with the sort of bottle show nature of it, they would invite multiple guest writers in
Oh yeah.
And they would so if you put a pitch out and say, hey,
it's like crowdsourcing.
You crowdsource it. That's how Next Gen did it. So you don't have to stress a small team of writers out. If you match the old bottle shows, you give a variety of writers a chance, which, considering a lot of the modern content we've seen, is probably a really good idea that you start to mix it up a little more than they have. So bring in some more writers. You don't have to use AI. Just give more writers a chance and create more content that way.
Yeah, I've told this story
Wow.
years ago.
It's as if you're talking. It's as if you're talking about another show from England.
I've told it. Yeah, I've told this story on this podcast, but it's been so many years. I'll tell it again real quick. But long time ago, or like circa 2008, when the Alamo Drafthouse would let you show anything you want on the big screen without having to pay for the theater space. All you had to do was have 25 people show up. That's it.
Yep.
They don't even have to pay because it's free entry. You just had to get 25 bodies to show up, and they would show anything you want.
There was a Doctor Who fan club.
Yes, but you could just say, we're going to just show up and hook up a PS3 and play Street Fighter. And as long as you get 25 bodies to show up, you can literally play Street Fighter.
That's so fucking awesome.
Yeah, they ended that because of copyright, blah, 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 circa 2012. But anyway, back in the golden days of just show up and watch whatever you want with friends, we used to do that with Doctor Who. And for a while, we started having like a lot of people from the San Antonio area who were just generally like sci-fi fans, like in general, and just wanted to see what was going on. And I met this guy, Joe Picasso, who's like a very famous illustrator for like fantasy novels and comic books. And he just showed up because he happened to be a local San Antonio person. And he's a very prominent person in the illustration world. And another guy just randomly showed up, and he was asking me if I like Star Trek. And I was like, yeah. And then he told me, and he was maybe, I don't know, 5-10 years older than me at the time. And he told me how in the mid 90s, Paramount, Viacom, or whoever put out, that thing like submit your stories. And so he submitted one of his stories when they put out that call. And he was telling me how he's the guy who wrote the DS9 episode, Little Green Men. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? Yeah. You wrote that episode. I love that episode. Yeah. And he just it was totally that, just submit your stories. And he got selected for that. So, yeah.
So, saying all that to say, I don't understand what's taking them so long. And I think they need to speed it up a little bit.
I really have to admit, I'm really sorry you guys had to go through that, because obviously I'm not that big of a fan to have cared. Obviously, I didn't think it was that long ago, but yeah, it's okay. I feel your pain. It's totally cool.
Even I didn't think it was that long ago. I will play devil's advocate just with on this in particular with Strange New Worlds and other shows, because back before they even started shooting season 2 Strange New Worlds, I follow like certain of the cast's like social media pretty closely, and certain members of the cast, especially Nurse Chapel, she like puts it all out there like behind the scenes and like letting you know, oh, we're going to Vancouver again, blah blah blah. So I knew they were gearing up to shoot season 2, and she was already going to get an apartment and everything in like November, December that year. And that was the first year of COVID. And COVID got bad enough that they shut down everything like with less than a month to go for them to start shooting season 2. So we all know COVID happened, and then they couldn't do any production for like a whole year. So that delayed the whole season 2 thing. And then even though they started shooting season 3 pretty quick after, because I guess once they shoot, it's about a year for them to produce the effects and everything.
Why?
So it's been like a domino effect since COVID. Even though COVID is now far in the rearview mirror, it just backed everything up. And I just noticed, because I started catching up on season 5 Discovery again yesterday, and I was like, when did this air and how far was it after season 4? Because I remember watching all of season 4. Yeah, it was the same thing. 2-year gap from Discovery season 4 until you got season 5.
Well, I didn't like that either.
Yeah, but same thing. And, I mean, COVID, blah blah blah. And this is not really a behind the scenes Star Trek podcast, but because of the Skydance sale,
Do you think? No, they're listening this far and they haven't figured that out yet.
but because of the the sale, the acquisition that just happened with Skydance, with Paramount, etc. Kurtzman and company, they've been running all the Paramount stuff since it was a streaming network. Their contract is like about to be up, and nobody knew if they're going to get re-signed with the new management. So all of a sudden, they have like rushed out production of the rest of Strange New Worlds through season 5, and then that spin-off show, Starfleet Academy. They're like in high speed trying to finish both those shows because they don't know as a production team if they have a future with Paramount.
Sir, okay. Casting the Rhine, reeling it back in.
So, my next question I'll pose to both of you: was this a satisfactory part 2 for the part 1 of this story? Hegemony, go, Sean.
Hegemony. Hegemony. I had to say it out loud because I just remember it's Hedge Enemy. You told me via text to watch Hedge Enemy 2. I'm like, oh, okay, 2. Is there a first part? And of course, so I watched the first part, which of course is the cliffhanger for the second season or the first season?
Yeah, the end of the second season.
Okay.
Yes.
And so, all right. Well, okay. And this is the problem after watching both those episodes. And I can actually talk about episode 2 a lot without bringing in episode 1. I've seen this show before, and I know these characters, but it's been 2 years. So I am, in a way, a casual, interested viewer. I'm not deep into the lore. I'm not going on Reddit, looking stuff up. When's it coming back? It's more like, oh, wow, Star Trek, that Strange New Worlds. You like that one, honey? I like that one, too. Pop it on. And, you're like, oh, I remember her. I like her. I remember him. I like him. I like it. The problem is that the way streaming is now, and you go back and you watch the last episode of the last season, you remember liking these people and you liking these characters, but that's not really the best thing to watch after 2 years. It's not really a character-driven story. It's more of an action story. And even though it sets up, an idea for a great action story, it doesn't really deliver. And there are other issues that I had with it. But I'm so sorry. I feel bad poo-pooing Star Trek when I'm not a regular guest on your Star Trek podcast.
That's why you're here. I mean, especially for Strange New Worlds.
So, Carl or Eric, whoever wants to go next. I don't know.
No, Carl next. No, I'll go. I forget. Carl sort of has a place at the end of Threads.
A place at the end of the Threads.
I'll try to be brief because we've already eaten so much time just setting the Strange New World table. I liked part 1 a lot more than I liked part 2. When part 1 happened, it was the end of the season. I figured there was going to be something special because I really liked the finale of the first season. So, they were tying up, the threads they had set in season 2. Action episodes are not necessarily my favorite at all for Star Trek in general, but it was to be expected, and it was interesting. It opened a lot of questions by the end of it, a lot of fan theorizing at the time of the finale. Great. But yes, it's been 2 years. Super long time. I've watched a million other things. I found a lot of other shows that are interesting outside of Star Trek, et cetera, et cetera. And watching this and having it play out, I remember after the finale, I was like, how are they going to solve this? How are they going to fix this? Is everyone going to live? I don't know. I remember that feeling, but that feeling was long gone when I was watching this.
Yes.
And it just kind of felt like, oh, okay, we're just going to wrap it up. And I was like, fine, let's just wrap this story up and let's just move on to new episodes. I had that feeling before
Absolutely.
this episode was even over. And also, it reminded me of what would happen a lot in New Doctor Who with Moffat and RTD. Whenever they had a two-part story, they set something up. Okay, it seems so dire, and then with the part two, they would resolve the initial problem really quickly, and then move on with the rest. And especially with Moffat, it would just be like a whole different feeling, kind of part two than a part one, and kind of go in a different direction. And so this felt like that, which I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing, but I just was not hooked into this part two really at all. The solutions to the big questions from last episode, it felt like cheating to me. It felt like when you're watching a mystery and then the solution is like, oh, but it's really all this information you weren't privy to. I don't like that in mysteries. I hate when they do that. And that almost, the solutions in this kind of felt like, oh, these are things you never would have dreamt of because we're just like bringing it up now. Don't like that. And then also, this is a good and a bad. My final point is it did remind me of those, especially TNG Karate Kid.
Oh, is that what it was? Oh, yeah, I know.
It reminded me of those TNG.
It's Karate Kid time. I'm so sorry. I didn't know we were cutting into your busy Karate Kid schedule.
It reminded me of especially those 90s TNG where they had, the mid-season cliffhanger. And as a youth, I remember that pining for 3 months.
There you go.
I was like, oh my God. It's the only good thing about summer vacation ending in school is that we'll finally get the resolution. 3 months was like an eternity. Like I started growing pubic hair for the first time, like waiting for part two.
I remember having that with comic books. I was really into G.I. Joe comic books. And there was one where, Cobra destroyed their base. And I was talking to everybody I knew about it, including my poor mother and her best friend who probably came over to smoke fucking pot that day. And I had to talk about G.I. Joe. Anyway.
Yeah. Sean was early money on like shipping Lady J and Hawk and all that kind of stuff. Related with Snake Eyes.
Nice.
I know. And the Sailor, I feel like you need to ship him with Zartan.
Okay, stay on top of this. I
love Zartan. He was so cool.
But anyway, yeah, so it's crazy because now I've like doubled in gray hair on the top of my head, like waiting, like pretty much literally since the finale of season 2 of Strange New Worlds. Carl.
Yeah, I mean, that was the bookend that we began this with, isn't it? I mean, it was just too darn long. It was too darn long. And you guys really did hit on a lot of the key issues. Now, all right, so let me play the angel's advocate on this. All right, so here's the angel's advocate. Out of a lot of the modern Star Trek that we've seen, the finale, episode 210 and 3-1, this is real Star Trek, though. I'm going to tell you, the character development, the scenario that they found themselves in, I actually like when Star Trek does action episodes. I don't think they do enough of them. If they did more of them, they'd be better at them. But I always appreciate the effort when they try them. So I was really excited to see, an action episode. And I liked these two. I liked, the season finale and the opener. They created a reasonable tension. There was a sizable, believable threat. Production value is always off the charts. I really enjoyed the space battles and and the stuff. It was fun to watch, and it was kinetic and interesting. And come on, there was a little tension between a couple of the characters that was emotionally satisfying to keep you engaged through all of this. And hey,
which characters are those?
Okay, so now I'm talking about Captain. I'm talking about Spock. So, seeing what was, what the guys were going through in these 2 episodes was serious, right? Captain Honey's getting all, infected, and
Mm-hmm.
Spock's losing his love. This kind of stuff is, this is a interesting tension to have laced in with the action. Too often, it's too much on the emotional side. You don't really know what's going on outside the ship, or it's only what's going on outside the ship, and you don't care about the characters. This is a good mix for Star Trek, especially modern Star Trek. They did a really good job of balancing that in both of these episodes. I felt that they were a continuation of one another. They didn't feel to me like there was a jerky difference between the two of them. They felt like they were part of the same episode, even though I know time elapsed and all that stuff that was going on.
Can I add something? I think, and I'm going to do a shameless plug for some other podcast, not one of mine, but a couple weeks ago, Eric and I were part of a podcast about Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And in Return of the Jedi, in that last third chapter of the movie, there's the parts where you have Luke and Vader and I'm sorry, you've got 3 things going on: Luke, Vader, and the Emperor. You've got the attack on the Death Star with Lando and the Millennium Falcon, and then you have the people on Endor. You've got 3 different things going on at the same time. And in this story, you have the same thing going on because you've got the folks that are trying to be ingested by the Gorn. You've got the storyline with what's her name being infected with eggs. And then you've got something else that I can't think of. But
the ship itself trying to deal with like potential Gorn invasion.
And I don't think it was handled or done as elegantly as Return of the Jedi, which is a really stupid thing to say, I know.
Well, you, sir, have got a point there. I agree. It was not done as well as Return of the Jedi, but
okay, let me just say it this way. I did not find the flip-flopping between these 3 stories as suspenseful as I think they wanted it to be.
Well, all right. Let me counter because,
Okay.
I hear you. I'll simply point out, don't forget, however, the emotional punch of these subplots had been developed earlier in the series. So what you are seeing is the resolution / shorthand of something we who've been watching the series from the beginning have seen all along. The captain and his love didn't just drop out of the air. That had been established in the past, and they had a falling out in the past. So to see them trying to get back together and what happens, that is emotionally rewarding because it came before this. What was going on with Nurse Chapel and Spock? Also, we'd seen episodes, Will They, Won't They, had been building up to this, and now the moment when we thought it was over, and now, literally we thought she was gone, and then there's
we'll get there. We'll get there.
It's to be the hero. I'm just pointing out, then, hey, by the way, we get Scotty. That for me, that's a big damn deal. Scotty's one of my favorite characters from Star Trek. So to see him come back, to see him arrive on the Enterprise, and the respectful way that they brought him in.
Absolutely.
There's all kinds of corny, lame, and ham-handed ways that they could have done that. And they brought him in like a hero, and it was still kind of subtle.
It's like he could have been brought in like walking in and he's like dressed in a kilt and they play Scottish music. I survived, like something, but no, I absolutely agree.
So that could have gone so wrong, and I really, and the fact that he's humbled by his old teacher. I mean that these little subplots, like I said, have been built up either from the original series with Scotty or previous episodes of these series with these main characters. For modern Star Trek, this is exceptionally well constructed.
Well, that is true,
and well emotionally balanced. Okay, so remember, I am being the angel's advocate right now.
Yes,
okay,
yes,
so
yes.
These are the points.
Can I say this about the Scotty character? I just want to say, I love the Scotty character, and I'm thrown back to I think it's Tony Shalhoub in Galaxy Quest. That's what he reminds me of.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like, guys, I think it's breaking apart. But although, like, he knows how to do stuff, he just can't talk about it or follow rules.
Yeah.
Although I wish they would take care of that 5 o'clock shadow, but I think that's part of the character.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
wouldn't have made that connection, but that's good. So, okay. So, I want to say, Sean mentioned another podcast we have to say is Caleb's Novice Elitist, Caleb and Isaac's. So if you wanted to find that Star Wars discussion and others, go for that. Now, I like Carl's Angels Advocate section because I pretty much agree with kind of all of it. And with everything we discussed for the last 12 minutes or so, I'm definitely more on the Carl side of things. Like, I agree with those things. But there's a but. While I agree with everything Carl said, like, very true, this is good, especially in terms of modern Trek. And yes, things were set up. So out of the three storylines, though, the three main storylines, the one I have the least problem with is the curing the Gorn incubation aspect. And I just thought it was going to be like some other random sci-fi medical solution, but it did make sense.
I have a wait, I'm sorry, could I have a question, Eric? Was it that they took blood from the lady who was the first officer? I don't remember her name.
Yes.
I used to know her name.
Una number one.
Yeah.
But they talk about it so quickly, I didn't really understand what happened.
Yeah, you had to remember from the previous season, like the whole big thing with her character, Una, was that she's Illyrian, which is sort of like genetically modified human, which is supposed to be an outlawed practice in the Star Trek universe or the Federation.
Okay, yes. We watched some of this. Yes, I remember this.
Yeah. She's been sort of like on probation, having like a dodgy existence because of her past that she kept secret. But, it just makes sense that would be a thing to utilize as a cure. And maybe it goes against protocol, etc. But they're probably setting up, Illurians being more welcome back, I guess, in the Federation in general. So, like, I like all that. That's fine. That's good. And it makes sense. And I didn't think of the solution on my own, but that was like, oh, yeah, I should have been able to figure that out on my own, given what I already knew in the series. So that one's fine. I had issues with the other two storylines. The one with the people trapped on the Gorn vessel, it reminded me of like many episodes, and I want to say a lot of them were finales of the original Stargate series. I didn't finish that whole series, but I watched a lot of it, and I remember they would get trapped on some alien ship, like in a finale or something. And when I would think about it, like if I was in that situation, how could you possibly escape from, an alien vessel? It's a whole different culture, technology. How do you get out of your cell? How do you find an escape ship or whatever? Like, and then in Stargate, they would just, it just seems so easy the way they would escape. And this reminded me of that. It just seems so easy, even though, they're in a situation that's like Minas Tirith in Fellowship of the Ring when they're under the mountain and like there's thousands of orcs coming. But that one kind of made sense, the one in Lord of the Rings. But that one just felt too easy to me. And I know some characters were dealing with PTSD, etc., and that's fine. It just felt too easy. And it just, I don't know, it just kind of took care of itself. And then the thing with the Pike and the space situation and the potential Gorn coming in to invade, and then this is the sort of like cheating in the mystery where it's like, well, guess what, it seems like the Gorn as a species respond to like the solar flares or the whatever, the neutron star, whatever it was, and that's like a signal for them to like hibernate or whatever. And I get that, like maybe if they were going against like a hive like species like the Borg or something who are just like bees or insects that just respond to signals chemically. But you would think the Gorn would be like, it'd be like if we were up at noon tomorrow, and then the sun's going down. Gee, I guess the day is over. Time to go home. Like you would think Gorn would be like, wait a second, like we just came out of hibernation. What's the big idea? But maybe that will be explored more with the species, or maybe it won't in the future. I just didn't like that. It felt too easy when dealing with like another very advanced species. But anyway, that's what I had to say about that.
I do not have a direct response to those things. All right. So all right, I will try.
Yield to the congressman from District of Columbia.
Thank you. I will be.
Does his vote even count?
I don't even know if that's a thing. I don't even know if you actually live there. I'm so sorry.
I think Virginia actually.
I'm 7 miles away. I count it. I claim it.
Okay.
So first of all, you're dead on with Stargate. I couldn't figure out why the alien space looks so familiar, Eric. And dude, that is it. It is like, especially Stargate Atlantis. They managed to find themselves aboard a Stargate Atlantis mothership, and you nailed that. The aesthetic was just the same. That is funny. This idea of being able to escape an alien mothership and then stealing one of their ships to run away. There's no way they could do that unless they had a power book. So, without the power book, there's no way you can pilot an alien ship. It's well established in sci-fi. So, normally they would be, okay, for those listening at home, this is an ID4 reference I am pulling from back in 1990. But anyway, so yeah, that was, that was a little convenient. I got one better for you. So I played the Angel's Advocate. All right. So I laid out the things that I liked. From the Devil's Advocate side, you are again 100% correct in terms of the theme being quick to resolve like they used to do back in Next Generation. This is a classic Next Generation, season break 2-part wrap up. Classic. And every bit in terms of tone. And the first part is all big and there's no way they're going to get out of this. How can they resolve the situation? And then the end is kind of like, wah, wah, Now, to give you the precise analogy, right down to the resolution, this is how they fix things in Best of Both Worlds. If you remember, how did Captain Picard defeat the Borg at the very end when the alien attack or the Borg attack was about to take over Earth? How did Jean-Luc Picard stop the Borg? Come on, guys! Really? It's only one word.
I don't remember.
I've seen it like 3 or 4 years ago, but
you guys are breaking my heart.
You guys are breaking my heart.
He was talking to the Queen, and he told her something.
The one word that Picard told Data was "sleep." Data, sleep. Data hacked the Borg system and told the Borg to go to sleep.
Okay, well, again. That makes sense. That situation makes more sense to me.
I'm just saying that to have literally the same resolution as they were about to take on Starfleet, giant alien armada, and they just go sleep, and they go to sleep. That was a little too, a little too convenient.
Yeah, and I like that it reminds me of that from TNG, but again, at the same time, I like the homage, but it doesn't seem like it should work with the Gorn.
That's a little... Look, I'm going to try and respect, because they have developed an optical technology for the Gorn.
Yes,
as part of the community. They talked about that in many episodes. So none of this stuff dropped out of the air. So, it is not so convenient. And like I said, up until sleep, I was really down with their hacking of Gorn technology. I was okay with all of that. But then that particular thing felt like a much too clean resolution for the scale of the danger that they had set up. I mean, everything was going wrong. And for it to be that simple. Now, again, maybe I missed something and you guys can kind of fill me in on the details.
No, you are absolutely right. It was really unremarkable how it was all wrapped up.
And if you could put this much setup into it, come on, you're writers.
And it started out so well, like explaining, like, okay, I know how we can do it. We can pretend we're part of the debris of the ship that just blew up.
That was cool.
Okay, yeah, I'm on for that. But then when they say, oh, okay, we're going to do some gigawatts here and do some pokery here and vig vag boom boom, we're safe. Yay. And the colonists are all safe. And they are they call it like the surplus hospital or the surplus sick bay. I'm like, what is that? Like a blow up sick bay?
And then also, think of this when I was watching it, but I'm thinking about it now. Another thing was I remember going back to the end of season 2, and again I was like reading all the stuff and reading what the producers were saying about the show and the episode, and they were throwing out all this stuff about, because everyone was wondering the same thing, how are they going to resolve this? And some of the producer writers were putting out stuff like, well, you see, there could be other variant species of the Gorn. Maybe they're not all the same. Maybe these are like the soldier types that we've been seeing in Strange New Worlds. Maybe there's like these intellectual brain types who actually communicate in ways humans are more familiar with. And so I was thinking of all the possibilities, like, oh, we're going to learn more about Gorn society or structure or something. But this has very little of that.
Yeah.
No answers like with any of that kind of stuff. So if there is a future episode of Strange New Worlds or some other show that explains, how to reconcile this with what we saw in TOS and blah, because if these guys are very drone like or like an ant colony, then it would make a lot of things make sense. But maybe there's another class. Maybe the Gorn in TOS with Kirk is a completely different class of Gorn, which is great, but I need the connective material of it.
Well, what does hegemony mean? Is it a set of organisms that no matter what will persevere and destroy everything around them? Or something like that, or am I wrong?
You're right.
That would be cool. I don't think that's it though.
Yeah, it means dominance of one group, state, or entity over others, particularly in political or cultural spheres.
Yeah, it's a hierarchical control.
Yeah.
That's very European board game sounding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much. Very much. But I kind of want to go to final thoughts because we're trying to be like a 90s production here where we pump out 25 episodes in 3 weeks. So we got more to talk about tonight. So
I can barely pump out in 23 weeks.
Some of your final thoughts and wrap-ups on this episode.
All right. Now, I encourage you to spend a little bit more time on this because this is all we're going to do tonight. I got to turn it.
Okay, that's fine. We'll just do this and we'll call it a night because I actually do have things because of the Karate Kid theme. I have things to do after this. So I'm fine.
All right. So, another devil's advocate thing, about this, like I said, I really did enjoy this. And I thought, the scope and scale of things was very interesting, but I try to pay close attention. I try to, really understand the physics in the world of Star Trek when I'm presented with things. The binary Stargate thing got me, though. It confused me. I don't know what happens, and maybe you guys can help me understand this. I don't know what happens when a ship goes between the two stars, because what I thought was happening is that when a ship went between the two stars and it disappeared, it was going to like a pocket universe, or like a little base that was someplace else, right? I thought that's what was going on. Now, remember the ship that was tagged that had all of our crew on it, right? They were prisoners. They went straight for the binary stars and they disappeared, right? Nobody saw them. All they could do was track them to that spot. They went through the binary stargate, and then they had this really distant, signal on them, and then Enterprise chased them to that same place, right? Okay, so I don't know where that ship went. I don't understand what is happening. So, all right, while Enterprise was chasing them, our crew was aboard the Gorn vessel that had binary Stargate jumped. They were getting snacked on by the engine of the ship. So they are in either the pocket universe or wherever the heck they went. They are there while our crew is, getting undigested and pulling guns out of slime and all that kind of. That's going on at that point. Enterprise is hurtling towards the binary star because they have the last little signal on them. So they are trying to figure out what they want, and they saw them do the star thing. All right, same time this is going on. Boom, we see the hegemony crew blow past them, heading toward Starfleet, heading toward Earth. So now Enterprise has got to make this decision. Are they going to chase their crew or try to futilely chase these guys down? So they go to the spot where the binary system is. Now, two things are happening. The crew of the Enterprise understands what the light energy communication is among the Gorn. They've translated that. So they know now what the crude language of the Gorn. All right, great. They understand that, and they have figured out that solar flares or whatever put them to sleep. All right, we got that. They figured that part out. They've gotten to the place where they're between the two stars. Now, what is happening? Because my assumption is at the point that they got between the two stars, they would get transported to where our crew's ship was. But that's not what happened. So I think the ship that was in the pocket universe with our partially digested crew came back out of that somehow. This is where it gets lost. I just missed something because so one or two questions here. First of all, if the Enterprise at that point when it landed in between the two stars, why didn't it transport to where the other ship was? If it one, I don't understand why it didn't. Two, how could it not? If it didn't, how could it not? They somehow managed to find a spot that wasn't the transporter spot, but was still the spot where they were able to collect the energy from the binary stars to rebroadcast the flare. So, I mean, normally I can keep up with Star Trek tech in physics and something, but something weird happened there where I lost a ship, I lost a wormhole, I don't quite know what the Enterprise was doing, and I was trying to hold all of that together to make sense out of it. So, as best as I can figure out, the Enterprise did not go into the pocket universe, use the energy of the binary stars as a flare to put the Gorn to sleep that were running away. But why didn't the Enterprise go to the jump point? How were they visible when everybody else disappeared when they went there? That whole part, I missed something. And did you all see it? Did you all see something I don't understand about that part?
No, I would love to have the answer, but I don't, because, just putting all my cards on the table, I wasn't paying attention that much. Like once I got the gist of the solutions for the three different problems, I was just kind of like, okay, I'm just going to coast to the end here, just being honest. Okay. But I really do want to know the answer to your question. Though.
Okay, now hang on. Let me further qualify this, okay? Because just so you don't think I'm being pedantic and all in the weeds here,
I don't. But
I know, but just you got to remember they set up this binary spot really big in this episode. They kept saying things like, "Is this the doorway to the Gorn world? Is this where their ships are refueling?" There was all of these questions that led us to believe that once they unlocked this point, we were going to learn a lot of stuff, which dovetails into everything you were talking about, Eric, that we were going to learn more about, the Gorn and their culture and all that kind of stuff. It dovetails into some of the stuff you were talking about, Sean. Why were they over there? Why, what was beyond the spot? All of this stuff was behind, this magical door. So, all right, you got literally 2 whole stars worth of magic door. You got a wormhole that's opening up, and it was just like nothing. They didn't tell us anything. They didn't learn anything. They didn't say. So, I mean, I'm willing to let them go with a lot of stuff. I'm down with the technobabble. I can forgive a lot. But they did a whole lot of setting up, and there was just nothing about that. They literally just packed up and went home after that. So, that bothered me because I felt like I missed something. Once again, even in the second part, this was a lot of setup for something that did not give us any resolution or clarity. So that's why I have such a beef with this.
Yeah, I'm here with you. And I will try to get the answer from rewatching and being more attentive by the time we get to next week's episode. I'm going to write that down on my little list here, my little to-do list. One thing I will say about the wormhole, though, and I did not do a side-by-side comparison to confirm this, but just going off of memory, the way the wormhole looked in this episode did remind me of the Deep Space Nine wormhole, but with like modern CG. I felt like there was a deliberate callback to that. But again, I'm just going off my memory. I don't know if anyone else had that thought.
I was hoping that might be the case. I did not notice that the wormhole aesthetic was the same. I got to go back and watch it. But if that was the case, it still didn't behave like DS9.
Oh, yeah, no, it does not behave the same. But it visually looked reminiscent to me, not like, one for one or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying, okay. I will make a better comparison of that as well by the time we reconvene. But, I'm here with you because, this is something I've been saying a lot on our Doctor Who podcast. With the new series of Doctor Who, when it was circa 2015 and prior with that show, I was that kind of fan, super engaged with the series, wanting to figure out every little clue in the technobabble and everything that was given. But since post 2015, I've largely watched new Doctor Who and just kind of been like I feel like I'm just here for the main points to see if anything piques my interest. And I feel sad to say it's not as bad as it is with me and more recent Doctor Who, but with Strange New Worlds, it's become a similar trajectory. And also, again, because the time jump in real life and all that kind of stuff, I'm in a whole totally different headspace. So I would like to be the Strange New Worlds fan that I was, but I'm just not right now.
I am. But not from this. But we'll.
Oh yeah.
But I'm the casual fan. I liked it before.
Yeah, and I have to say, I know especially me and Sean are sort of in the future in this podcast, in that we've seen episodes that come after this one. And so I think some of that opinion is bleeding into what I'm saying now, even though I'm not directly referencing any of that stuff.
All right. Well, I will simply say this again. Angels and Devil's Advocate regarding these 2 episodes. For modern Star Trek, I think they did a really good job of finding a balance between all of this stuff. I'm picking at these things. My biggest beef is, look, we've been watching Star Trek, especially since Next Gen, all the way back since the 80s. Don't fall into the same patterns. I appreciate the tip of the hat and respecting of the classic timing and all that stuff, but don't fall into the same patterns of exciting first part of a 2-parter and then kind of wimping out on the second. You are writers. Write a big ending first and then work backwards. Don't do this where you set it up huge and then make it something small. You've had decades to break this pattern, and so here was your chance, and you guys are not doing that. But to sort of fortify what you were saying, Eric. with Star Trek, modern Star Trek, and Star Trek Doctor Who, I'm going to try to keep on topic. They have moved away from some of the technical precision that we grew up with. And so, the detail that we used to watch them in, the detail we used to watch them with a lot of the modern versions of these shows, are no longer rewarded anyhow. But with Strange New Worlds, and particularly these latter episodes of Strange New Worlds, they are doing better. And so I had held out hope that attention to detail would be rewarded.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
Was that politically? Was that diplomatic enough? Did you get?
Because especially when we were doing seasons 1 and 2 of Strange New Worlds on this podcast, it seemed like the writers knew what they were doing with their arcs, and like it seemed like, okay, they're planting seeds. Maybe this doesn't feel fully satisfying in this moment, but it seems like it will down the road.
Mhm.
So we'll just see. It's just I feel like we're kicking the can right now more down the road than I'd like. Like I'd like to get a little bit of something, and it doesn't have to be about the Gorn, but just I want to get some signals of further confidence, going forward. Like if this was like a stockholder meeting, like just give me something to hang my hat on.
Is my investment going to pay off in the end?
Yes.
Yeah, just give me something, gentlemen.
Yes. And I had a lot more faith with season 1 and 2. Right now, I'm not sure because they're playing the long game, but I'm hoping. And look, certainly when you couch it in terms of new Star Trek, yes, they are doing this much better than really any other series. Although Lower Decks, in its world, in its way, was pretty good with that kind of stuff.
Oh, they beat everybody.
Yeah,
they beat everybody.
And with what I've seen of Prodigy, because I still haven't seen much of season 2,
Slacker.
They also see, I wasn't taking that show seriously at the beginning, but then with that show, as it progressed and evolved, then I started to perk up and go, wait a second, maybe I do need to pay attention more. A similar experience happened with the animated Clone Wars series a long time ago, where you just kind of like, oh, this is a kid show. And then you're like, wait a second, this is important lore.
Progeny gets exponentially better. It is quite shocking. It genuinely feels like a different show toward the end than what you started.
Yeah,
with.
and I believe it just from what I've seen already. So, but if we're talking live action, and I don't, I always hate bringing up the Star Trek D word because it's usually used as a pejorative everywhere. And I've been catching up on season 5. I've let it sit there on the shelf for quite a long time, and I've actually been surprised because in terms of discovery, there are actually little things I like in what I've seen recently. So okay, it's not all bad, but still, certainly, I the way they're unfolding the stories, the way they're balancing the character arcs and the emotional sides with the actual story at hand, like it's definitely handled and done a lot better. It's remarkable to bring up how many, even if they are copying too closely 90s TNG, at least I can make the connection, because that is not something you would ever say about Discovery. Oh, they're just doing what happened in Best of Both. No, that's almost never a thought. Watching Discovery, because it is so wildly different than Star Trek in general. And it's not just the look or the aesthetic, it's many other things below the surface that are just, and that's fine. It's its own thing. I'm fine with that. But yeah, so it's no surprise why I definitely like this the most. And while of live action Star Trek of the newer age, and even though I liked the J.J. Abrams movies a lot for what they were, if I had to choose more of those or more of this, meaning Strange New Worlds, I would still want more of this. But yeah.
I agree. I would agree with that. Yep.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, the thing that makes Strange New Worlds a joy to watch is because I do follow a lot of these actors and people on social media, etc. Like they just really feel like a family. So if you follow that stuff with them, like I'm kind of rooting for them in the show, their characters, and I'm kind of rooting for them like in the real world because they just seem like a group of people who really like working with each other. And even if they're new, some of them are new fans to Trek themselves, and some are not new fans to Trek, but they just really seem all in and dedicated. Like I'd be shocked if one of the actors besides Pelly, if one of them was just like, "Oh, I want to walk away from the show," and like it's like holding back my career. Like I couldn't see any of them doing that. It just no, like it just seems like they love to be there, and they'll ride it out.
Yeah. I hope so. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Any other thoughts? Yeah, I'm curious to see more about Scotty, but I think we'll have more to talk about with him in future episodes. And I'm fine where Spock is emotionally at this point, but once again, there's going to be, unfortunately for me, a lot more to discuss with Spock and his emotions going forward. But that's not what we're here for right now. I guess we are left with rating this and any final statements. But first, someone give me a unit of measure to grade this episode. And you can grade Hegemony Part 2, or you can combine it as Part 1, Part 2, whatever you want to do. There's no rules about that part. Just the unit of measure for out of 5.
Scotty Cloaks.
Scotty Cloaks.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Or are we good with Scotty Cloaks?
Sure. I don't care. Okay.
I guess that's better than bursting what's that word? Pustules.
Pustules, yes.
Pustules on your back. I guess yeah, we'll go with Scotty Cloaks. It's a lot cleaner. So out of 5 Scotty Cloaks, Sean.
Out of 5, I'm gonna give this one a 2.5.
Whoa.
Did not like the taste, liked how it looked. Did not like the texture at all. It was just sort of like, okay, we've got this jumbled up salad sort of a thing that we're going to try to feed you. It's beautiful, but really, is it better than being shoved down a duck's throat? No. So it's okay. 2.5. I'll be full until dinner time.
Absolutely. What is that dish called when they?
Fogwa.
That's it. That's what Lord Farquaad.
Mm-hmm. I'm saying that because right now on my I do that thing where it picks a desktop picture for you every day. Mine is a goose right now.
I see.
That's what I thought of foie gras.
Yeah, I'll pass on the Farquaad, but I will go for some haggis if we want to go that route. Okay.
By the way, we don't eat foie gras. Don't eat foie gras, people. Just try to avoid that. That's not.
By the way, I love pig intestine, and whatever they served me in El Paso a week ago was out of this world. If you're a fan of that,
if you want to meet us in person, you can drive down to Texas State Highway 171, where you can find it takes all kinds of critters to make Farmer Eric's Vitters.
Vittles?
Sorry, Vitters.
Oh, Vitters.
Vittles. No, there's a movie called Eric. There's this old 80s horror movie called Motel Hell, where there's this redneck brother and sister that have a bed and breakfast, and they lure these idiots into their house to stay at the bed and breakfast.
Oh, are you talking about my rural Hispanic cousins because
I don't know what you're
they're
talking
on high.
about.
Yes, you do, because they're the ones who have the creepy motel on Highway
See, this is the type of thing I think we were born at the wrong time, Eric, because I think if we were right now about this time doing radio in the 90s, we would make millions.
Oh,
Morning radio in the
oh yeah,
90s, you
oh
and
yeah,
me.
yeah. In the 80s or 90s, if we were the age we are now
Oh
with
god.
our knowledge base of the 70s and the 60s, oh my God, we could tear it up.
And not only that, we would have a base to tell people to be able to talk to people about like stuff like cultural stuff like movies and maybe music, although I don't know anything about that, but TV stuff and stuff
Oh
that,
yeah, I would tune in. Definitely on a local affiliate at the very least.
yeah.
I mean, I could do AM. I'm fine with that. Doesn't
I
have to
think
be
we've got it. We've got it. We're
yeah.
attuned to the kids, man.
No, but it's
We're
true.
attuned.
If you want to see my cousin's motel, look up the Charlie Daniels Band album, "Homesick Heroes," because it is the photograph of the album cover. Although it looks a lot different in modern times compared to when that photo was taken. There was one last thing, and I was done with my appraisal. Okay, I I did I score it already?
No.
Okay, okay. Well, I was going to before Carl went. Um, you know, I'm going to be optimistic because I could easily give it a 2.5, like Sean, but I will be kind and give it a 3 Scotty Cloaks out of 5. But the thing is, with Strange New Worlds, especially with only 10 or however many episodes in the season, I expect greater than threes. Okay? Okay, so 3 is fine, but I expect more from you, Strange New Worlds. So that's where I'll leave that.
All right. All right. Like I said, pretty decent balance. Love the production value. Uh, Happy to see Scotty. Interesting development with the characters. I'm going to give it a 3.5, a high 3.5.
Okay, it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we have several more weeks. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
we do have some, and I really, really underline, really look forward to talking about some of these future episodes.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to it. We're getting to it.
And I hope y'all are as excited as most of us are because these will be coming. Maybe there'll be an animated episode somewhere in between on the feed of the animated series. But stay tuned for more Strange New Worlds. And we already know there's going to be 5 seasons. So there you go. But until then, closing out the show today, this is Eric.
This is Carl.
And this is Chicken Lady Sean.
And until next time,
may the wind always be at your back, and may the sun always shine in your face, and may you always luck of the Irish when you walk down Wall Street.
Beware Romulans bearing gifts.
I mean, knowing what you know about AI, would you be curious to go in there and play with it and ask it weird things like you would ask a Ouija board?
Yeah, it's a new tool. It's a necessary tool for us to know how to use.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like a hammer. It can be used to harm, it can be used to build.
Mm-hmm.
And so, now is the time to start connecting with it, to at least become familiar with the tool. So, yeah, give it a shot. Give it a shot.
But you don't think we're anywhere near close to where like somebody like Stephen King would lose his job because AI is going to be creating these, flowery manuscripts or terrifying manuscripts in that case?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say because I have seen AI make leaps in the soft sciences like voice that you would imagine. I don't mean the sound, like, how people's text voices sound, how they express themselves.
Mm-hmm.
To see an AI be able to take on, voice is pretty impressive. And like
100%.
Eric's talking about, this stuff is that scale of functionality has really sparked up just in the past year. This whole technology, the advanced technology, chatbot technologies, is maybe 5 years old. So to see it go from nothing to the scale where it is now, it's there's no guarantees that humanity is safe from artistic invasion in this area. Sean, the interesting thing about this technology is, you know, why databases sucked for so long is for two reasons. One, the scope of their knowledge is very limited. And two, the only way that you could get information out of them is if it was structured very particularly, very precisely worded, and then you could get the information out. That's why databases, they work, but, for only narrow cases, and, they only have a certain amount of information. The interesting thing about chatbots is, especially the ones that Eric's talking about, is imagine the database is the entire internet. Imagine that the query language that you use to get information out of it is now natural language. That's where we are with the technology.
I see. Interesting.
Yes, very true. Because I noticed when I started using ChatGPT more recently, I noticed in the way it was speaking to me, it started speaking the way I speak. Like it started using my same level of vocabulary, and it started saying things the way I would say them. And again, so now I can speak to it in my shorthand. I don't have to overly explain anything, and it just like is on the same page with me because it like speaks my language, like Eric language, more than just like regular English. Oh, and the next thing I'm going to play, well, not the next, but one of the future things I'm going to try out that I haven't told it yet, I am going to have ChatGPT, like I'm going to load up an old text game like Zork 1 or Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy text game, and I'm going to feed all the information from the game as it comes to ChatGPT, and I'm going to ask ChatGPT what it would do, and I'm going to like watch it basically play the text game and see how it figures out like how to progress. I can't wait to do this. But
you can look that up on YouTube. People have done that, but I'm
sure
fascinated. I'm fascinated to know how you actually physically do it from your computer.
There's so many ways you could do it. Because you could copy and paste. You could send it screenshots. I mean, you can do whatever.
Yeah. The way that they built the thinking portion of the brain, or these chatbots, has a flexibility that was trained that way. They actually played Warcraft, so it's called reinforcement learning. It gets all technical, but the algorithm that they use to make these machine algorithms learn dynamically versus explicitly what you tell them is called reinforcement learning. And just like back in war games, the machine plays itself, and the machine plays other machines, and in that loop, it learns more and more and more.
Yep.
And so.
Yep. Yeah. So, because I used to love to play those text games, and I would always get stuck in all of them, and I could never get past. And I never wanted to get like a cheat guide, and so I'm not going to get a cheat guide, but I'm gonna watch ChatGPT navigate and presumably eventually beat the game. I just want to see how it works it out on its own.
I went into, we really got to fucking talk about Star Trek, but the other day I actually looked up a couple of those games. There was one that I always wanted to play called Suspect. It looked like a traditional murder mystery type thing, but I had a few of those games. I had Zork. I had a couple others. There was a Hitchhiker's one. I couldn't do, they were impossible. And I want to know, who were the people that beat those games? I want to know what it's like. I just found on YouTube this. Do y'all remember from the early 80s in the arcade, the Dragon's Lair
Yes,
game?
of course.
And it turns out that game, which I would just pour quarters, just throw them away. I couldn't get past two things, and it was 2 quarters to play it. It's a long game, but it's also a memorization game. It's all about left, up, left, right, and fascinating. Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, that is how that game, and it's crazy because there's so many modern games in the last 10 years that are basically the same concept of play style as Dragon's Lair. But I remember that all well. I remember, so there was the Dragon's Lair, obviously, and then there was the one that had the hologram person. Do you guys remember that one in the mid to late 90s? Do you remember that one?
Oh,
it was a game that played just like Dragon's Lair, but it was like this circular type thing, like what do you call
Tron?
No. I forget what you call the arcade games where you kind of lean on the cabinet while they're like desktop or something. But it was circular and it was all black plastic, but in the center was a little circle, and the hologram would appear, and a person who was like 5 inches tall, like photorealistic, would just be there. Everyone would like reach their hand because it looked like you could touch it with your hand. And the little person would go through an adventure like Dragon's Lair, and you just had to like work the door.
Is this the Chuck E. Cheese where they gave out gummies at the front entrance when you came in?
No. I used to see it at the
arcade. I swear to God, Eric, I have no idea what you're talking about. I used to see it at
the arcade, and I know you can find it on you. I'll send you guys YouTube videos, but at the time, it was the coolest thing.
He will send it.
Of course I will. But it was cool.
At about 4 o'clock in the morning, you're going to get it.
It was so cool, though, because it was literally a 5-inch tall photorealist. Looked like a 5-inch person was standing right there in the middle of the table. And you would control them, like moving left, right, jump over the obstacle, shoot the laser. But yeah,
Okay, all right. Dum da lie. Are we ready?